Today we have a guest speaker, Rosalind, is it Kuba? Kuba. She's the Executive Director of Family Promise of Lehigh Valley. And let's welcome her here.
Thank you for having me today. So you are getting a condensed version of my speech. I was kind of told I was doing a sermon today, but there's a sermon in the bulletin. So you're going to get a condensed. No, I'm going to keep it really short.
Doesn't have to be short.
Yeah, it does. I get it. So we're going to just do the best we can. But I wanted to start with James 2:15-16. I always like to use this because I just think it says a lot. If a brother or sister is naked and lacks daily food, and one of you says to them, "Go in peace, keep warm, and eat your fill," and yet you do not supply their bodily needs, what is the good of that? And that kind of says a lot about what Family Promise is, because Family Promise is really about families helping families and communities helping communities. We do have a local affiliate that opened in 2018 November, right here in the Lehigh Valley. And if you don't know anything about Family Promise, we kind of try to do a whole complete continuum of care where we offer shelter, food, prevention services, and aftercare services to families that are basically unstably housed. What makes us unique is that in order to do that, we use our community. So we use local congregations and local volunteers. It started in the 80s by a woman named Karen Olson. She was walking to work one day, and she noticed a person, her name was Millie, who was homeless, and she was hungry, and Karen just happened to walk in and buy the woman a sandwich, brought it out, handed her the sandwich, and she started to think about this, and the next weekend she handed out more sandwiches, and then she went home and told her two sons, she was a single mom, told her boys about it, and they were like, "Oh, that's a great idea, Mom, we want to come with you and do it." And then she went to church on Sunday and told her congregation what she was doing. And the people in the church was like, "Oh, we could do that. We'll make some sandwiches to send with you." And the next thing you knew, this movement started by one person. And now, 30-some years later, it has over 200 affiliates across 43 states in the U.S. So it's kind of a really cool thing. And it shows you that one person truly can make a difference. And that's what Family Promise is all about. We try to meet you where you're at as a volunteer. Our days start, we have drivers. Our congregation, we own a bus, so we transport our families from our churches to our day center every day. So our volunteers, some of them start 5 o'clock in the morning by getting ready, having their coffee, and going to the congregation, wherever the host site is, and taking that bus, picking up our families, and driving them to the day center. So we have over 500 volunteers that comprise our network. We have over 36 congregations, and it really takes everybody to make it work. Every little piece of that puzzle is making it happen. So churches commit to a week at a time. It's 4 families that you would host, and no more than 14 people, because we're limited by how many people fit in our bus. And it's usually younger children, a lot of them make up, because we only take people with children under the age of 18. And one really interesting statistic which always gets to me is that you are most likely to be homeless in your lifetime as a newborn or an infant. So there's a lot of stigma around homelessness, but if you really think about that fact, it should take a lot of the stigma away, because they didn't cause it, they didn't choose it, they didn't decide to be homeless, and yet the statistics around that and the risks of things that they're 7 times more likely to commit suicide if they were homeless in their lifetime. I mean, think of those statistics against them. They're more likely to drop out of school. They're more likely to be held back. So what Family Promise does is we really try to make sure that those things don't happen. It's not an easy program. These families are up and out the door at 6 o'clock in the morning because our volunteers have to go on with their day. They have to get to work. So it's not an easy program. The families are selective because, again, we deal with our volunteers, so we do screen them. They can't be actively fleeing domestic violence unless the abuser is out of the area, because we have to make sure everybody's kept safe. They can't be, using drugs or alcohol because, again, we have to keep our volunteers and the other families safe. We don't have cameras in most of our congregations, that kind of thing. It's not easy. We're looking for families that are working. They save 50% of their income while they're with us because the goal is to get them housed within 90 days. Not an easy task in today's economics. And we have over an 80% success rate, so that's pretty huge. So we have a lot of landlord engagement. We also do something which is kind of unusual, but we have a grant, so we have them saving 50%. Once they reach $2,000, we kind of deem them move-in ready, and we match that 50% with our grant. So we take that $2,000 and they have $4,000 to help them move in, which is kind of cool because if you think about it, an average two-bedroom apartment in the Lehigh Valley right now, even in Center City, Allentown, which is usually not a place that you would want to live in, $1,600. That means that a homeless family needs $4,800 just to move into that apartment because most landlords require first month, last month, and security. So it's kind of unrealistic for a lot of people today. So they really do need that helping hand. We also, a big part of our program is prevention services. Easiest way to solve homelessness is to prevent it. So we have a huge program. So if you come across anybody in your congregation that's starting to struggle with the rent, you can give us a call and we try to really help them to prevent them from becoming homeless. One thing we found since COVID is that landlords are not renewing yearly leases anymore. A lot of the families are being put on month-to-month lease. And unfortunately, what we've seen, and I've been doing this a lot longer than I like to admit, we are seeing a lot of families where it's one illness. And I don't know why, but I've gotten a lot of calls recently. It's a child illness. A child's diagnosed with cancer. And nowadays, it's a two-income family. Mom has to take off to take care of the child. And they can't pay their rent just that month. And the landlords are taking them to eviction court. And they're being placed out of their homes with 1 month. And that eviction stays with them for life. And nobody wants to rent to them then. It's a real problem right now. And the magistrates hate it. They don't want to put the family out, but they have no choice because legally there's no lease. And what's happened is a lot of these companies have come in and bought up their properties, and it's management companies, so there's no personal involvement. It's just strictly by the numbers. So you can't call your landlord and say, but my child has this. Nobody cares. They can know that they can get you out, and the next month they can get first month, last month, and security again, all over again. So it's a real issue. So there's a lot happening in the Lehigh Valley, and there's a lot of organizations, but Family Promise is one that really I think has a hands-on approach. A lot of shelters, it's drop off your check, but we're with us. It's come in, have dinner with the families. We're all about mentoring. Bring your children, bring your grandchildren. I always say, we're doing our job right when you stop by to see what's going on, and the kids are all playing, and the families are all having a good time, and you can't tell who's who. You don't know which families are helping and which families are the homeless families. Then we did our job right. And the children, a lot of them, they don't even know they're experiencing homelessness. They know they slept in churches, they know they're having a good time, but they don't know why. And that's what it's about for us. So one person can make a difference. We also stay with our families. We have an excellent, very strong aftercare program, and that's why we're so successful with our placement. We really talk to landlords. We have an engagement program with them. We tell them if 8 months down the line our families can't pay the rent, we'll stand by them. We'll step up. We'll pay the rent if their child. We had a guy. It was 2 years later. It wasn't 8 months later. He got in a car accident. He was one of our dads. He had a concussion. He couldn't go to work for a month. We stepped in and we paid that rent for that month while he was waiting for disability. And then he didn't need disability because, the concussion went away. He went back to work in 6 weeks. All was good. He would have been homeless again. We were able to take care of that and bridge that gap. So staying with the families is really important because one incident can put them back in homelessness. So that's one thing that's really important for us. So there's a whole lot more to this. I'm keeping it very brief. But if you're interested in knowing about Family Promise, if your congregation might be interested, we have support congregations that kind of help out our host congregations. The one thing we have found is a lot of congregations are struggling today, especially getting younger people involved. The younger crowd is very mission oriented. This program really appeals to them. So it's a good way to bring in some young people. Again, you can bring your confirmation classes, communion classes can get involved. So we have some congregations that have beautiful buildings, but may not have enough volunteers or might struggle getting volunteers. So we can partner up with them. That's what we call them like a buddy congregation to go with our host congregations, a support congregation. So there's all different ways that you could get involved if you're interested. Like I said, we're always looking for drivers. We have some fundraisers. If you love Purse Bingo, we have a designer Purse Bingo coming up in January, the third Saturday in January at Jordan UCC. You could come and just find out about us, check us out. We're on social media, so you could look us up on the website, find out more about us that way. If you have a business, we're always looking for community sponsors, all kinds of things. I mean, we had a woman that she simply loved to bake. Unfortunately, she passed away, but she loved to bake. So the first Friday of every month, she just brought a cake. Our families could not wait to see what kind of cake she brought and what it looked like. She just loved to do that. So we had a woman who loved to crochet. She came in one day, taught our teenagers how to crochet. I never saw teenage girls crochet like these girls. They were putting it out like nobody's business. So you just never know what's going to connect with some of the families and the kids. Right now, sometimes we have all teenagers. Right now, we have all little ones. We have one 12-year-old, and everybody else is under 5. And normally I have a PowerPoint, which I always love to show because I show a collage of all our kids, and I am always like, these are the faces of our homeless families. And it's very different than the faces that you see on TV because they're all smiling, and they're just babies, and they have all their futures ahead of them. But that's it. I'll be here if you want to talk a little bit after church. But feel free to give me a call or look on our website for more information. And thank you for your time.
Thank you so much. Well, God is amazing. I was asked to do something short. I said, usually when a missionary comes in, that's the sermon. He said, well, I want you to do something short, so I'm going to do something short. Jeremiah 33, 14 to 16 appears in a very small section of the book. And this is devoted to the hope and the comfort and consolation for us. It is called the Book of Consolation or Comfort. During the hurricanes, when the hurricanes came through, I volunteered for Crisis Hotline through the United Church of Christ. And it was really hard to hear some of the difficulties that these people were going through. And houses being destroyed, trees falling everywhere, no electricity, no water sometimes, especially when an elderly woman calls me and says, I can't do this, I can't move my refrigerator, there's water throughout my house, there's a tree outside that fell over on my garage, and what we do is we take the information, we put that all in on the file in a computer, and we send that off to a main number, which then listens to what the problem is, and they send it off to volunteers in that area, specific area, to help. We were given 3 minutes in between each call to get things together, and bang, 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 all day long. People were just hurting. There's only a gravel road left, somebody said. There's a picnic area, but the bathrooms don't work. There are 2 signs left in my community. There are 2 signs that are standing up, and 2 houses remaining. One is a really, really old house, and you know what? It would take me more time and money and effort to restore my house than it would to build a new one. What's the point? there's really not much there anymore. There are hills, usually some trees, a little grass. But yesterday, a number of people joined together and had some hot dogs and hot chocolate, and they lit a Christmas tree. Now, what about this tree? One person says, it looks pretty homely. It wasn't what I thought it would be. The lights are pretty, but what's the point? There's really not much here anymore. Just us common folk. It's going to happen. It's going to be different. And it's going to be a God thing. And what happened is people coming together to help. Even people from our area offering stables for horses, pastures for cows. Bring them in. I'll take them. You need a place to stay? Come and stay with me. So, what's Christmas all about? Spending money that I don't have, dealing with the stress of buying and who to buy for, dealing with the crowds and the traffic. I happen to live in across the street in Wyomissing from the Berkshire Mall, and I couldn't sleep one morning. 4 o'clock, I get up. It was Black Friday. 4 o'clock. The place is loaded with cars. People are waiting to get into this shopping center. Where are we going to go for Christmas? Where am I going to stay? Who am I going to see? Oh, we have to get a tree. But when are we going to have time to decorate that tree? And where is that darn Christmas tree stand? What's it really about? What's the point? It's about family and friends, children lighting up brighter than the Christmas tree lights, people being kinder than usual, lots of parties and gaining weight. What's the point? Also, there are people that mourn at this time of year, missing loved ones that are now gone. Families are separated, not being a family for this time of year. Kids not spending Christmas with mom and dad. Husbands and wives waking up on Christmas morning alone because they're no longer husband and wife. Families separated by distance. They're not able to be together because maybe a job keeps them away, or maybe it's just life. And people out of work. And this major time of the year when we all need the cash. It's reality. What's the point? Family Promise. Rosalind Kuba. Homelessness. Who else? What else did you hear from her? Homelessness and what else? What else? I'm sorry? There was hunger, right? What was the name of that first person who started this? I'm sorry? Karen Olson? Well, what's the point? Exactly. One person can make a difference. One person can make a difference in Christmas just by smiling at someone else, just by going out on the street and seeing someone who is hungry and going in and buying a sandwich or even a hot cup of coffee. Someone who's sitting in the pew on Christmas Eve all by themselves and you see your tears running down their eyes. Get up and walk over. Sit with them. They're alone. It's going to happen. It's going to be different. And it's going to be a God thing. And I like to call those little things God things, just like the one person is a God thing. A smile on a day when I'm feeling really bad, it's a God thing. Someone crosses your path, you think by accident, and they need something, or they ask you for something, or they look dejected, or they're having trouble getting down steps, or they're having trouble getting down an escalator, or they're using a walker and trying to carry their presents. One person can make a difference. One person. You see, God intervenes in the midst of despair and offers hope, and we are the vessel used by God. You and I are vessels used by God. The reality of all of our life is a reminder that Christ is come, will come, has come. Christ will come again, and hope is out there. The power of all is that Jesus is the promise, and Jesus can change all of reality. He can change us too, because God intervenes and offers hope. So where do you find yourself in this holiday season? Today's the first Sunday of Advent. This is the time of year we start preparing for Christmas Day. It's not about shopping and cooking and sending cards, although I'm going to do it anyway, but that's not what it's all about. This is about preparing for Jesus to come once more to our hearts, to remember that Jesus is the reason for the season. It's going to happen. Make it different. And it is going to be a God thing. Amen.